Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken M. Joining me in the studio, as always, it's the co-host. It's Padawan J.
Feeling a lot better this week, I must say.
Absolutely. You're sounding better, looking a lot better. You definitely survived the head cold. Shout out to Brian from Cheers to Comics, who did spot fill-in duty on us last week. Definitely appreciate that episode fill-in. So it's good to have you back, though, Pat. And also returning, it is your coach. It is my coach. It is the coach, Coach Duffy.
This thing on? We're good now?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we're good. I know that sometimes we have to get you on Skype, so we got to make sure when you're in studio, we got to turn the mic on. It's one of the fun things we do, folks. We do it live here on the ODPH. So let's waste no more time, shall we? Join in the conversation. You can join us on social media via our social media links. You can find them on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. So remember, join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and always use the hashtag ODPH, because we have a lot to discuss. Biggest sports story going on right now, because that's what we're going to talk about this episode, is NFL free agency is looming.
Even though it hasn't officially started for like another 6 days.
It hasn't, but there's been some moves going on. There's going to be some moving and shaking going on.
Some moves and grooves, as the kids like to say.
Yes, absolutely. So we are going to kind of break down where we think everybody's going. And for me, the biggest linchpin about where players are going to fall is falling on the shoulders of one Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pat, what's your feelings on this?
I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's staying in New England. I just can't for the life of me imagine that at 2 years old now, he's going to go to a new team, new system, new head coach, new receivers, new this, new that, new everything. I think he's testing it. He's seeing what's out there, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, he's going to end up back in New England and he's going to finish out his career there.
Coach, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think let's be real. It's his time right now. He's earned free agency, and just like LeBron did when he, had his free agency with the Cavaliers, it's fun to enjoy this. I mean, He wasn't heavily recruited, has obviously only signed extensions, so he's never really faced free agency.
He's never had free agency, period.
Right. He's always signed extensions. So, I mean, right now it's his time to be the belle of the ball. I mean, obviously there's a lot of teams that are capable of offering him decent contracts with decent teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, Tennessee is a team that comes right off of the top of my head. That would be a team that he would fill in very nicely with. Good run game.
Yeah.
Solid wide receivers. Not great, but good. And, decent tight ends.
The receivers, I'd say, are comparable to New England.
Sure, absolutely.
They're good. They're nothing flashy, but they'll get the job done.
However, when you can run the ball 40 times a game with Derrick Henry, I mean, that's got to be a little weight off your shoulders, and obviously the lust and lure of Las Vegas and those new Raiders out there, and that great song that came out on YouTube, that's really going to be hard to say no to. That if you haven't seen it, just Google search Las Vegas Raiders song on YouTube. It's a one-of-a-kind jam that I think nobody else can top. So that's going to be hard to say no to that song, and the everything that will come with being the quarterback of the new Las Vegas Raiders, and obviously the Chargers got money too, and they've already said that they're willing to offer big time money to Tom Brady. I don't think that fits him as much as Tennessee. I mean, you got Vrabel there. You've got a friendship. You've got a kinship. You know each other. You played with each other. You won Super Bowls together. So, I mean, if there was any team, and I mean, I would assume that if Tom Brady went there, Vrabel would say, "Here's the keys to the offense. You drive." Right. And he would just let him whatever system or play calling or set that he would want to run. I'm sure Vrabel would tell whoever the offensive coordinator is currently, hey, we're going to defer to Tom here and let him do his thing. Just a la Peyton Manning when he went to Denver. Yeah. It was the same way. John Elway was like, I know we've got coaches in place, but, we'll give you reign to the offense, and obviously that worked out well for them. So that's that's where I would put Tom Brady. I'm leaning towards him coming back, though.
Oh, yeah.
But if he went anywhere, it'd beat Tennessee to me.
Yeah, no, Tennessee just seems to make the most sense because you look at the Chargers and, okay, maybe, but just don't see it happening. Vegas is honestly a step down, in my opinion, from where he would be in New England or Tennessee. And just the thing with this whole scenario is I get the fan base both in New England and the NFL is rabid to figure out where he's going. I mean, it's gotten to the point that his wife Giselle did a Q&A on Instagram like a week or two ago, and somebody went and asked her, where are you gonna be living, or your kid's gonna be going to school, in the fall. And you're just trying to get out of her like where Tom was thinking about going, and Giselle was smarter than that and didn't give an answer. She's like, "Oh, wherever my husband decides to play." But I did love the story I saw over the weekend. I believe it was now. Don't get angry at me. It's just telling the story. Charlie Weiss was on a radio show where he was on something, and this got brought up. And
put the chair down.
Well, I mean, what did he know? Probably nothing.
Put the chair down, Coach.
He texted Tom, and basically nobody knows anything. And so to all these stories coming out, going for clicks and views and all this about, he's thinking about doing this. He's thinking about doing that. They don't know nothing.
And it's smart for his camp to not tilt their hand to anything. I mean, and it literally, the blueprint's already out there for how to handle free agency. Just don't do the announcement like LeBron did.
Okay.
But everything else he did was perfect. You have teams come to you, and you have them make a PowerPoint presentation of why it makes sense for you to join that team, and you can either sit in the meeting or have your agent sit there and listen and recap, what the meeting was, and make your decision from there.
Yeah.
Well, it all goes down to Brady is going to be the most sought-after quarterback on the free agent market, and that's why we're kind of let off with him.
Arguably the most sought-after free agent in the last, 25 years?
I would definitely,
Since free agency's been a thing?
I wouldn't say 20. I wouldn't say about that. But I would definitely say he's the most lucrative quarterback that's been a free agent.
Yeah.
I'll go with that stance more so, Pat. Just because with Brady and being at his age, with his pedigree, you know that wherever he winds up going, he's going to go to an instant Super Bowl contender. He's not going to a rebuilding team by any stretch of the imagination.
God, no.
Well, that's why I'm saying Las Vegas, although was solid last year and probably surprised a lot of people, they got a lot of money that they can toss his way. And, I mean, if anything pushed the needle, the money would be the thing, I guess, besides, the fact that Las Vegas can't offer a winning team, but they can offer you oogles amount of dump truck of money, that might be the attractive thing. But, yeah, I mean,
that's just not his MO, though. I mean,
right.
You look at over the years, he could have gotten a lucrative contract, a dozen times over. He's never done that. He's gotten what he feels is fair and what can help the team out. And he's always been about winning. He's never been about the big paycheck, the big contract, making the money. I mean, he's got enough money.
And that's what was always smart about him, was because he was willing to defer so they could go out and get him players around him. And that's something that New England, I mean, obviously they've tried to make some swings on wide receivers that just haven't panned out. The trade for what's-his-face out of Los Angeles midway through the year last year. Cooks. He didn't pan out. Then they tried to bring in Antonio Brown. That didn't pan out.
I think there was one year they tried Michael Floyd.
Michael Floyd, Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
So they've tried and they've swung and missed, unfortunately, but they've tried. So I mean, it's not like and obviously Gronkowski.
That's the thing I always say with the Patriots is everyone goes, the Patriots can fix anybody, they can make anybody. Look what they did with Randy Moss. I'm like, okay, yeah, Randy Moss is a good example, but for every Randy Moss, there's Albert Hainsworth,
right?
There's a Josh Gordon. There's an Antonio Brown.
I mean, Josh Gordon. I don't see. That's the thing, though. Like Josh Gordon was playing well,
yeah.
And then when they picked up Antonio Brown, they put him for the two, inactive spots, and it was like that didn't make a lot of sense. And then obviously they reactivated him and only to ultimately cut him. So, and I know they drafted the wide receiver out of Ole Miss, who played well towards the end of the year, but obviously it was a little too, too late. Yeah, he was hurt for most of the year. So, and Gronkowski retiring really, blew up any game plan that they had.
I know they brought back Ben Watson, and Ben Watson, very good tight end, very serviceable, but nowhere near the level of Gronkowski.
Yeah, he's not Gronk.
No, he's not Gronk by any means. So this is where we say, for Brady to go to a different team, they have to be loaded and ready to win right now. Looking at the teams that need a quarterback in free agency, because if you take a quick look at the list of free agent quarterbacks, that'll kind of give you a tendency of, okay, what's open on the market. Obviously, New Orleans is a place that could have been a destination had Drew Brees not declared he was coming back.
Can you imagine Brady with that offense?
That's why I'm saying.
Good God.
That could have been something. Because I mean, not that he still has the arm strength he had, the previous years, but he could still make some moves down there.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be an easy fit for him. But they have announced Drew Brees said he wants to come back for one more year.
Yep.
So that kind of rules the equation out. Tennessee is an intriguing destination. Obviously, he knows Mike Vrabel, the head coach from years playing in New England.
Mm-hmm.
And would he want to jump into that offense? Debatable. Is it to say that
if I'm Tom Brady at 42 and have Derrick Henry behind me, yes, please.
It'd be a very dynamic and interesting, situation because Brady can obviously still throw the ball. He can still, when his receivers are healthy, he can still throw the ball. He can still sling it around the yard. But at the same token, you don't really know what you're going to get. Are you going to get the Tom Brady who's throwing 20, 30 times a game for 200-300 yards, or are you going to get the one who throws he throws a little less and Derrick Henry's running the ball down your throat? It's a very tough thing to plan for.
Well, that's the thing though. Like the problem with this team last year was, and the Tennessee team, if we will, real quick, was once they were down, they couldn't come back.
Right.
Ryan Fitzpatrick could not lead you down the field to score a touchdown.
Right.
So
Ryan
Tannehill, right? So let's just say Tennessee's down by 2 scores, and now you've got Tom Brady back there instead of Tannehill.
Yeah.
Now it's still a ball game. And Derrick Henry can still be utilized to run the ball. So it's like, that's a huge upgrade. And I mean, for me, if I'm Tom Brady, that's a very attractive because ultimately, all right, if we're losing, I know that I got to bring us back in the game, and that's what quarterbacks have to do anyway.
He does that in his sleep.
Right, but if they're winning, I don't have to worry about still making completions to continue the clock. I can defer to Derrick Henry and let him just chew up 5 to 6 minutes on a drive, kick a field goal, go up 2 scores. So that's the thing where it's like as a 42-year-old quarterback, not having to throw 40 times a game, period, like he did last year.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, this is where it kind of debates where he could end up. And like I said, Tennessee would be an ideal landing spot for him if he didn't go back to New England. The Raiders are a dark horse in this because...
If we're using horse betting terms, they're like 50-1.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about if he's just looking for a payday.
But if he's looking for a payday, but it also depends on the other moves they do in the offseason.
Sure.
Because as it goes with a new franchise moving to a new city... Sometimes they'll gravitate towards free agents, and that will drive some people to go there. I mean, taking a look at who else is on the open market, obviously the biggest wide receiver out there is Amari Cooper, in my opinion, and obviously whatever's going to happen with Dallas and him is up in the air.
I mean, Dallas is
going to
huge difference from them and Dak Prescott.
I mean, the thing of it is, though, Dallas and Jerry Jones might want Amari Cooper back, but it's ultimately like we say with anything else with the Dallas Cowboys, between the chunk of pie you're cutting up for Zeke and ultimately the chunk of pie you're cutting up for Dak. Is there going to be enough pie left for everybody else?
And that's the biggest argument too. And I could see Cooper going back to the Raiders organization. It would be a lot, though, but it also depends on what the money is going to be involved.
I actually, somebody was talking on one of the shows, whether it was, I think it might have been the NFL Network or it might have been ESPN, but they said the greatest weapon for a team heading into free agency is being a team that is a perennial contender with a quarterback on rookie deal. That is the ultimate, if you have that, you are already above and beyond where other teams are because now 1/3 of your salary cap is not going to go towards a quarterback. So you can toss money at these guys, and then ultimately when said quarterback becomes, on that restricted free agency, then it's like, all right, now you got to pay him, and now but hopefully you've already made, won a little bit. So that way you've already had success. So when you have to sacrifice, depth, you ultimately already have a championship under your belt.
One would think so, and especially if you look at the case with Dallas, that Dak had been offered a contract this week and turned it down.
Right.
So this is going to get to be a messy play of however it's going to end up because he's going to get paid no matter where he goes.
It's just a matter of who.
It's just a matter of who and how much because he's not going to get $40 million a year.
No.
I can't see Jerry Jones giving him 40.
If he'd been lighting up the stat lines and making NFC Championship runs and making a Super Bowl run and all maybe winning an MVP, I'm like, all right, you got a conversation. But he's had a good season and he's had a good career. Very very serviceable. Borderline the top tier, elite tier quarterback. He's not quite there yet, at least in my eyes. But in terms of like, oh yeah, this guy's worth $40 million a year.
No, I can't. Justify doing that.
No, let's just think about that Buffalo game. That's a really great example of a team that focused on taking Zeke out of the game, leaving it on Dak Prescott's shoulders to win, and they couldn't do it.
Right.
So, to me, $40 million a year is nuts. Really, honestly, besides maybe like Mahomes and Russell Wilson, I think it's unnecessary to pay a quarterback that much because, ultimately, you're sacrificing so many things for one position. It like a perfect example is the Rangers, Ken. And we've talked about this before. Henrik's eaten 1/3 of the cap up, and look what they have to do every single year. They got to scrape and scrap just to make enough money to get a team together that, that third and fourth line has to be sacrificed just so they can pay, Henrique, who's not even playing right now. The Giants, they had Eli Manning on the books for $19 million. Took what, 4 games worth of snaps? Mm-hmm. It's just, why invest so much? And I understand, like, Russell Wilson can win you a game on his legs alone, and Patrick Mahomes is a freak, and Lamar Jackson, when he ultimately becomes a free agent, pay him. But, like, to sit here and be like, all right, we've got $60 million in cap space, and we're going to spend 40 of it on a quarterback.
Right.
It's bad business.
That's bad. Yeah, it's bad business. Exactly.
And that's where the Patriots have been so well with Brady taking less money to stay.
Right.
Which he understands that big picture. And this is why we say he's going to be the biggest free agent going when free agency is available next week. That wherever he goes is going to set the pace, because I fully predict in my unofficial ODPH prediction, he goes back to New England.
Yeah.
He's testing the water to see how New England is going to try enticing him to come back. And I think that is smart on his play. I think if you take a look at the other quarterbacks that are out there, and the one that jumps to me is Teddy Bridgewater, because he could start for certain teams right now.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
But he is going to be the one, I think, after Brady, because Breeze has already said he's coming back. Bridgewater is going to be the one that has the most upside.
Don't forget about Rivers.
Phillip Rivers, you don't know at this stage.
He was so bad last year.
That's the thing.
It was like he looked washed. He looked worse than Eli did.
But that's the thing. He needs to get behind an offensive line that can protect him.
I think the most enticing name of that quarterback list is somebody who's probably not even listed on it. Taysom Hill.
That is true. The one from New Orleans.
Yeah, dual weapon. Obviously showed that he could play the quarterback position. Arguably in that game against Minnesota was playing better in that divisional round playoff game that, probably should have stayed in the game at that point, but he can do multiple things for you. I think that's an asset of a player that is definitely worth pursuing as far as whether you have a number one quarterback and looking for a solid backup, or you're looking for somebody that can run a little bit more of spread offense.
Where I would say is this: I think that he winds up staying in New Orleans and he stays another year behind Breeze.
He already said he wants to be a starter, though.
He could say that.
If Sean Payton sits you down in the room and says, "Hey, listen, Teddy Bridgewater's gone. You are going to be the heir apparent." He's in his 30s, so it's not like he's getting any younger. Yeah. So I understand his feeling of like it's now or never. But
I'm just looking at a list on ESPN.com of they got a list here of what they say are the top 50 free agents. Interesting one, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's going to get paid.
Yeah, but
he's got an expiring contract, so could be a little interesting, wrench in the thing for Tennessee there.
Right, but I don't see him leaving by any.
Oh God, no! They're going to have to pay him though.
They'll give him a blank check.
Yeah,
that's the thing. There's no way you take him out of that dynamic.
I gotta if I can real quick, because I just want to make sure that I get to this and vent real quick. Giants and Leonard Williams that they traded the Jets a 3rd and 5th round pick for. Pending free agent, right? Mm-hmm. Looking at he's now the Giants have cap space. They got a decent amount. It's not. I think it's top 5 of all the NFL teams as far as cap space, but they got a lot of money to work with. He wants $16 million a year for being a defensive lineman with 2 freaking sacks. Now,
Good luck.
Now Gettleman here, in all his wisdom and ingenuity, thought to himself, and it's being reported that he actually said this to the media. Well, if he walks, then we will get a compensation pick in the draft, because that's how the later rounds work. Depending on players' statistics, they get associated compensatory picks in the later rounds of the draft. Well, because Williams only had played half of a season with the Giants, he has not earned that compensatory pick for the Giants. So that 3rd and 5th round pick that they thought he would have gotten back had he left in free agency, the Giants won't get. So basically, they would have given up a 3rd and a 5th for nothing. And that's Gettleman in all of his wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're a Giants fan, just know the fact that if they don't re-sign Williams, then they traded him for nothing. And the Jets look like rocket scientists.
And that could possibly happen. I mean, that's
embarrassing.
That's the wild thing about free agency, that everybody waits till after the combine, so they have their players in mind who they want to draft.
Well, they're not even. I mean, the Giants they're not even in the ballpark. They didn't even offer anything close to 16.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But they're obviously going in this thinking, okay, if we're not going to match the 16 offer, we have somebody else in mind.
Right.
And and that's what I'm touching.
And that's when he said it. He said it at the combine, or he said it midway through the year, because they were like, "Why would you give up a 3rd and a 5th for a guy who's pending free agency, who has never put up more than 6 sacks in a season?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, we're going to get a compensatory pick." Not so fast, my friend.
Right, you're not going to have it, but obviously with them going in with that mentality that, okay, you've now just lost it, you have to go on the data that you came back with from the NFL Combine and taking a look at the class that's out there, what makes the most sense moving forward, because for some players, you're not going to be re-signing with your teams.
Well, I mean, for the Giants, it's trading back.
Yeah. I mean, but for different teams, it's different things.
Right.
And that's the wild side about it, because, like I say, after the quarterback position, the running back one is kind of, well, not really any too crazy noble names that we think are really going to drive the needle, except for me is Melvin Gordon. From the Chargers,
I mean,
they just signed Austin Elker.
Right, to a fat deal.
To a big deal. So Gordon is gone.
But the thing with Gordon was, too, is that obviously he had that huge holdout and didn't play very well last year after the holdout, which goes to show that holding out does not yield you anything, because he probably lost. That Elker deal could have been his deal.
Yep.
Had he had played through last season. So, Le'Veon Bell's the same situation. These guys hold out. Ultimately, it cost them versus what they probably would have made had they came in, played, had a great year on a contract year, and, gotten paid, which I understand and respect. Like, don't sit here and say that I'm crushing the players for sitting out. I'm just saying you have now 2 examples of guys coming back from holdouts to earn less money than what they thought they were going to make in free agency.
No, yeah,
just saying.
I'm looking at a list here from Spotrac.com. I mean, like you said, Ken, there's no real, holy crap names. Like, you got to go get this guy. But, I mean, there's some interesting names on there. Lamar Miller from Houston's on there. LaShawn McCoy, Carlos Hyde, Melvin Gordon, like you mentioned.
Well, let's talk about Melvin Gordon in Kansas City.
That would make a lot of sense.
Ooh. Yeah.
They need to get a younger, dynamic back.
They need a dynamic back in that offense, and that is him.
Like I said, maybe not so much younger, but there's still tread on Gordon's
right,
tires.
And there's consistency there. There's a body of work versus, I mean, obviously, what's-his-face played very well in the Super Bowl. Johnson played very, very well in the Super Bowl. But could you imagine a Melvin Gordon back there with what they were able to do with Kareem Hunt back there before?
Yeah. Be huge. It would be absolutely huge. So they have to kind of look at that going into free agency as well. I mean, if you look at all the skill positions, wide receiver, the biggest one is A.J. Green to me.
Right, but you already got stories coming out of, Cincinnati, that Joe Burrows wants him to stay in Cincinnati or something like that.
Does A.J. Green want to stay in Cincinnati?
But that's the thing. He'll probably get franchised. The only thing I would watch there is I don't doubt a Patriots-like move to get him and via trade.
I mean, that would be a Patriot move, but I mean, that's a second and a fourth for a wide receiver that's coming off of a major leg injury. That's not.
But if it's enough to entice Tom Brady to come back, that's the big thing, which I'm saying they're willing to sacrifice.
No, I mean,
picks.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, on the flip side of it, that injury is very, very scary.
Oh, absolutely, because after Amari Cooper, that's the 1A, 1B combo right there of, okay, where is the biggest need for a team going to fill right there? Because you have 2 clear-cut number one receivers in that free agent pool.
Right.
Everybody else.
Randall Cobb's a free agent as well. I mean, not a number one receiver, but still pretty good receiver.
A pretty good
pretty
receiver,
good slot wide receiver at this point.
But I was going to say, is it enough to move the needle to get you over the hump for the Super Bowl?
No.
No, I don't think so.
He had to spot. I mean, no, I'm saying no, but he did have some good looks in Dallas.
Oh, yeah,
He
absolutely.
had some moments.
He had some moments, but not enough to really.
No, I mean, he's probably 34, 35 years old. I mean,
Randall Cobb, he's 30.
fuck. All right,
Yeah.
that's close.
But give take on for the offensive side of the ball. I mean, that's the only names that are really sticking out. On the defensive one, Jadeveon Clowney.
Ooh,
yeah.
I mean,
Jadeveon. I'm butchering the name there.
apparently he is very interested in coming to the Giants. I really hope that the Giants are not interested in him coming back.
There's also some dude named Von Miller.
Oh, yeah, there's also some dude named Father Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the biggest one jumping to me is Clowney.
No, I mean, listen, Clowney played well in Seattle. I just, for what he's probably asking for, like, you got to understand, if you're a defensive lineman who is trying to get signed to a team, and for me, a defensive lineman, it's all about scheme fit. Because if you're a 4-3 pass rushing defensive end and you're trying to get assigned by a 3-4 stand-up team, they're not going to pay you the same money because you're not going to be on as many downs as you were if you were a 4-3 rusher, So
Yeah.
it's like scheme matters to me, and I just don't know if – and Clowney just doesn't produce enough to be getting paid like that.
No.
Like, these guys, Von Miller makes a difference defensively. He disrupts things, but because he also, he plays linebacker.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're going to invest in somebody, it's like I would want somebody who is a dual threat. I mean, Sims out of Clemson, I know it's a draft pick that, what I'm saying, but a hybrid guy that can play multiple positions, that's the kind of guy that I would want to invest in because he disrupts offense. You just putting your hand in the ground, rushing after the passer, on first and second down, and then sitting on third and short does not push the needle to me.
Right. And that's where the teams are going to really have to make some moves.
Right.
Like I said, Clowney was the only one that jumped out to me on the defensive side.
Right. And I mean, there's a reason why Houston traded him, and there's a reason why, he's trying to pursue big payday from Seattle, because he feels like he is that game-changing defensive end. But as you watch the playoff game, he wasn't.
I mean, you really think about it. What's his big career? And I'm not just talking NFL, but like life highlight. It's still that hit it in the bowl game when he was with South Carolina.
Yeah.
Right.
You look at his stats for a pro career. He's been in the league like 6 years or something like that. He's got 32 career sacks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the numbers. They're good. They're okay. But it's not anything screaming at me like, we got to pay this guy and we got to get him top dollar.
Is the dude a freak? Absolutely. He's an absolute, beast, but he just doesn't he's not Aaron Donaldson. He's not. And the thing is that when you look at the 49ers defensive line, which arguably was probably the best defensive line in football this year, it was 4 guys. It wasn't just, the 2 ends. It was 4 guys who were able to get pressure from each side of the line that was able to, and the same thing when the Giants had that great defensive line. It wasn't just Strahan. It was Tuck. It was Umenyiora. It was, a plethora of guys, just blitzing and able to find holes. So that's the biggest thing is to me, defensive lineman is not something that you want to toss a bunch of money at. Now, if you were a safety that could cover the nickel, sign me up for that.
Yeah, the biggest one jumping out to me is Simmons. Justin Simmons is going to be the free agent.
Yeah, and the corner from New England's a free agent too, right?
McCourty? No, McCourty's safety.
No, not McCourty. McCourty's safety. The
cornerback. I'm just looking it up now.
Okay.
I don't see anything.
All right, so I thought. All right, so anyway, though, I mean, but if you have a shutdown corner like that, that's where you want to toss your money at.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I mean, you can get solid pass rushers, but you can use scheme to get solid pass rushers. Like, you don't need J.J. Watt to rush the passer. You just need a solid scheme, and you can get after the quarterback.
No, I mean, if there's 2 guys, you mentioned New England, they got to re-sign on the defensive end. Kyle Van Noy, inside linebacker, is a currently free agent. Re-sign that man immediately. And then you also Jamie Collins, who's an outside linebacker. That man's an outside linebacker, but he's also lines up a few plays as like a defensive end.
That's what I like.
That's
what I like.
Versatile, and he's a freak.
Well, so let's pose this question out there. So next week, as we are going to be recording, we'll be recapping where everybody signs.
Sure.
For the idea.
Well,
for the most part,
yeah.
for the most part. So let me throw the names out that I think are going to be making the most moves and you tell me which team they're going to.
Okay.
Obviously, Tom Brady.
New England.
New England. I think that's agreed across the board. Dak Prescott.
Dallas.
Dallas, but he's going to get franchised.
Yeah.
I say Dallas
because I really think the whole situation with Dallas and it's going to get ugly.
Oh, I think so too. I think Dallas is going to panic and overpay.
I think. Well, I don't think Jerry Jones does that. I think he franchises him and he pay because franchising is going to get him paid. But I think Dak holds out too.
Could possibly happen. Amari Cooper.
I'm trying to think of teams like Dallas is the easy one to say, but like I'm trying to think of other teams that might need a receiver.
I think he resigns in Dallas. I just don't, yeah. I mean, I don't see anybody else. I mean, he had a solid year, not a great year. I think Dallas obviously sees, they traded a first-round pick for him. I don't think they just let him go after 2 seasons of service,
No, because I think I'm going to have to say Dallas just because if I had to put my head in where Jerry Jones, train of thought or where his head's at, he might be having in visions of their 90s run 2.0.
Well,
where you had Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and then Michael Irvin. Now you've got Dak, Zeke, and Amari.
And not only to mention that, but I think that his price tag is going to be too high for teams to sign him after getting hurt towards the end of the year. I don't think New England's going to be willing to toss top dollar to an Amari Cooper.
No.
I'm actually going to say that the smart money would be to have Cooper stay in Dallas. But I think he's gone. And I think he does go to New England on a 1-year deal.
Oof.
I'm going to throw that out there.
Oof.
Because I think for Brady to come back, he's going to need a number 1. And for me, looking at this board of free agents, I think the A.J. Green move, I fear that is going to happen, but I don't think it is going to, just for the simple fact that with Burrow coming there, he's probably going to really try selling Green on, hey, let's turn this thing around in Cincinnati. Let's see what we do. I think for the Patriots to bring Tom Brady back, they need to bring in a number 1, and who's the biggest one they can get is Amari Cooper. I think this nonsense about them trading for OBJ is completely out the window.
So here's my thing, though. If that does happen, it's definitely not going to be for a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Like, Amari Cooper is in his late 20s. There's no way he is going to sign in the prime of his career a 1-year deal.
Well, they could do it if they can just rework it after. See, I think it's just a matter of showcasing what he can do. If he feels he wants to win a Super Bowl, this is the time to do it.
I think if it would be a 2-year deal with a restructure.
I could see that too. But like I say, I could see they're going one and just to really kind of make a selling point.
Yeah, and I could imagine him taking a pay cut just to go, hey, I'm going to play with Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and this is my best chance to win a Super Bowl.
And that's the selling point. As much as I hate that idea completely, with the Bills being in that same division. Melvin Gordon.
I'm gonna stick with Kansas City.
Yeah.
I just like it. I don't even know if it can happen. I don't know if Kansas City got the cap space, but I would love to see that.
There's plenty of teams out there that need a running back and don't really have one right now. But any of them coming to mind, I'm like, yeah, there's no way he can go there.
Houston.
Yeah.
Houston would make a lot of sense. Kansas City would make a ton of sense, except the only thing is, with Kansas City, I don't know with Patrick Mahomes' contract looming if they're going to want to try saving some cap space now, and because when that one comes out, he will be the highest paid player in the NFL. There's no question.
For real.
No question.
No question.
We won't even be debating about is he going to leave Kansas City. No, he is going to be there for life.
Mm-hmm.
My guess with Melvin Gordon is he goes to the Chicago Bears.
Oh,
all
right.
I'm going to throw that one at you.
Okay.
And I'll even give you their new starting quarterback will be one Cam Newton.
Oh, you think they're going to take that route, huh?
I think they're going to go that route. I think that you're going to see a complete rebuild going out in Chicago, which I think they could definitely use. I don't know necessarily how it's going to work, but I think that they are going to definitely make enough moves in that sense to re-spark that offense. And they need to do something because that offense is abysmal. And I would say go get a kicker, but, that's just taking a shot at him. So, Jadeveon Clowney.
I really have no idea.
I'm going to take a flyer and say it's going to be like Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could see
just them pursuing a name to pair with Chase Young.
I could see it being them or maybe even like a Detroit. Matt Patricia being a defensive guy, looking for, maybe an anchor on that defense.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Oakland. a.k.a. Las Vegas. I think for them moving to Vegas, they're going to need to make a big splash one way or another, either on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. They're going to need to do something. I could see them going and getting him. Not necessarily going to be what sends them to the Super Bowl, but I know Gruden likes him, and they could definitely use a name out there.
Yeah.
So that one makes a lot of sense. Ryan Tannehill, I think we all agree, staying put in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If Tom Brady doesn't come there, then that's the only thing that makes sense for him.
It makes sense for him. He doesn't got to do a lot of work. Honestly, he looks good in Tennessee, and thank you, Derrick Henry.
And he'll start.
He'll start. Anywhere else, he's a backup that might not even see the light of day.
Who would have thought in this day and age we'd be saying Ryan Tannehill in a debate where he's going for free agency?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, when he had a decent spot in Miami, like he had that 1 year.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, a couple leg injuries and shoulder injury definitely slowed his development and growth. I mean, listen, you got to understand, anytime that there's a coaching change and multiple coaching changes within, a time frame for a young quarterback, it's career suicide for them. Because, I mean, Alex Smith is a perfect example of that. Coach after coach after coach in San Francisco, but then goes to Andy Reid in Kansas City and revamps his career. Why? Because Andy Reid is a leader and a solid coach who was able to steer him in the right direction just in 1 year of service. So, Tannehill obviously staying put would be the smart thing for him instead of having to do that. And I mean, not to say that he'll win you a Super Bowl, but he'll definitely at least get you to a championship game.
Yeah.
He's adequate for that offense, and he fits into that scheme. I think it's a smart move to bring him back.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of shocked that obviously with how he ended things in Miami that he's had this resurgence. But good for him. I can't be mad about that. Comeback player of the year without question. And let's close it out with the other big name in the quarterback position on the free agency market, one Phillip Rivers.
Retirement.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't see him going anywhere that it's going to have any sort of success, and I can't really think of any team that really needs a quarterback. They're like, we're going to call up Rivers. I mean, but to be fair, though, when Brett Favre signed with the Minnesota Vikings in 2009, he was 39 years old and Rivers is 38. So
yeah, but he ain't the same kind of player that Brett Favre was.
He's not the same, but I think that he winds up in Tampa Bay by the time it's all said and done.
Oh, God, I hope not.
Yeah, I just have this odd feeling 1 year and then he's done. If they go 6-9 or they just miss the playoffs. That's my predictions about that. We've given you some predictions going in with NFL free agency. It officially starts Monday, March 16th, and we'll be recapping what has been signed and where we think players that haven't signed by the time we record are going to be going next week.
Draft is a month away.
The draft is a month away, as Coach said, too, so we're going to be definitely having a big draft episode when that comes around. But hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts about NFL free agency? What players haven't we talked about that you think we should be, and where are they going? And how about our predictions? Do you agree with them or not? We definitely want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Can you imagine a world immune to all forms of cancer?
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for our 4th annual live stream for the cure.
And this year, we need your help more than ever.
Please join us May 27th through May 31st for 48 hours of live content from guests and podcasts around the world.
We'll be aiming for our most ambitious goal to date as we try to raise $10,000 for the Cancer Research Institute.
Please visit www.livestreamforthecure.com for more information on this year's event and how you can be a part of it. Together, we can make a difference.
Hello there. Do you like movies but feel overwhelmed by the avalanche of titles available every week in the theaters and on streaming services? Do you struggle with justifying the increasing cost of movies at the theater or whether to pick up another streaming service? Well, I have a resource for you. One Movie Punch. Your movie review podcast for currently playing, newly streaming classic and cult movies. One movie per day, every day. We track the theaters, streaming services, and the occasional physical release to find the best movies currently available. We watch every film, then distill it into a short 3 to 5 minute review and publish a daily podcast. And now with year 2, we've gone spoiler-free for all movies within the last 3 years and bringing on a team of reviewers with brand new perspectives and selections. Want more information? head over to www.onemoviepunch.com to subscribe to the daily podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OneMoviePunch and Facebook at www.facebook.com/OneMoviePunch. We'll see you there.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we got to talk a little NBA news going on.
Basketball is my favorite sport.
Yes, and there was some big news coming out of New York, and it did not involve the Knicks.
Wow.
I mean, they did have their lowest home attendance since 2008, 2009.
Yeah, we're not going to blame that on anything related to Spike Lee. That was obviously everybody, the fear of this thing going on. Nobody wanted to contract that, so they're just staying out of the arena. Good for you, citizens. Be smart. Stay at home. Self-quarantine. Nothing about Spike Lee.
No, but for everybody, please be safe with this going on. Make sure you're washing your hands and just take necessary precautions. But for this, though, it did not involve the Knicks, as we're going to talk about this story. It involved a certain team across town, shall we say?
Brooklyn.
Coach?
I love it. Welcome to the Nets are a mess. Hey, coin that.
That's nothing new.
Listen,
but there was enough. That's nothing new, but there was enough going on that they could kind of hide behind it.
Listen, I mean, so Kenny Atkinson, the coach that was coined, and bred was labeled as the culture cultivator. He was the guy who the Nets brought in to rebuild the culture of the Nets and to make them this esteemed team. And last year they had such a shamble of a roster, you could say. D'Angelo Russell, who was trying to make a comeback after being traded by the Lakers, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who nobody had heard of until last year, and Jarrett Allen, who was an afterthought in a late round first pick, late first-round draft pick, and other names that, Damari Carroll, who, was on what was thought to be the tail end of his career when he got picked up by the Nets. Karis LeVert.
Yeah, last season was very interesting for us here in the New York, tri-state area, because the games the Brooklyn Nets are broadcasted on for us are the same channel that the New York Yankees are broadcasted on. So when I'm watching Yankee games, if it's the right time of year, I'm seeing enough Brooklyn Nets commercials. It was real interesting to watch them try and promote those games last year.
Yeah, I mean, Karis LeVert, Harris, who almost won the three-point contest last year. So obviously the list goes on and on of names, right? Mm-hmm. And Kenny Atkinson was the guy who helped build that team a winner. He turned the Nets around. And how did the Nets repay him?
Thanks.
They ship everybody out of there, and they bring in DeAndre Jordan, Kevin Durant, and a guy by the name of Kyrie Irving.
Who? Never heard of him.
And what happened to Kenny Atkinson? Well, he was dismissed on Saturday of his head coaching duties. Because why? The players didn't want him as a coach. No.
Yeah, I don't understand this move at all.
And now the rumors are Kyrie wants Tyronn Lue in there.
And now the culture and all this stuff. Oh, all the Nets fans. Oh, you guys were. Oh, at least we're not the Knicks. We're not a mess. We've got culture. We've got winning. We've got players who want to win and want to play for us. And we're not about the the star players. Played? Well, it's been a while.
He shut down for the season now.
And now look what happened to you. Now you're schmucks. All you Nets fans, each and every one of you out there, you're all a bunch of bandwagon schmucks because you had the same thing that happened to you that happened to the Knicks. You've got a little cell in there that doesn't like what it sees, and it sucked everything out of there. Enjoy the rest of your season and enjoy never winning a championship because that's exactly what will happen to this team now.
When you let the inmates run the asylum, it is never good to build a winning culture. And this
You're damn right.
This is prime example for everything that Atkinson did.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. He inherited a mess. He inherited a
dumpster fire.
And literally, he was put with G League players and guys who were undrafted because let's face it, the Nets didn't even have a first-round pick for the first couple of those years, and they had Boston's late picks in the draft, which is why they were able to get LeVert and Harris and Allen. And he took those players and turned them into guys that were like, wow, they can actually win. He revamped D'Angelo Russell's career when people thought that he was going to be a wash after that trade from the Lakers. So to sit here and then bring at the first opportunity to bring in these star players, listen, if you got star players who want to come play for you, I understand, from a marketing and a dollar standpoint, it's difficult to say no, and you can't really win in today's NBA without star players. But my God, to let them just come in and own your franchise the way that this happened, because let's face it, the reports were, and I mean, this is from an NBA beat writer, if Kyrie Irving wanted Kenny Atkinson as the head coach, Kenny Atkinson would be the head coach.
I'll say, like we said, for those who may not remember or just don't know, he really did inherit a dumpster fire piece of garbage team because he took over as Brooklyn Nets head coach in 2016. And then the season prior, the Brooklyn Nets finished third to last in the league with a record of 21-61, a winning percentage of .256.
And here's the other, and then Jacques Vaughn got named the interim head coach. Mm-hmm. What's the first thing he does as the head coach? Mind you, the season's probably now a wash. Yep. Kyrie Irving's done for the season. Kevin Durant 100% was never coming back.
Yep.
What's the first thing that he does? He benches your young developing center in Jared Allen and plays DeAndre Jordan, who, mind you, plus-minus rating is like -13. On the flip side of it, Jared Allen's plus-minus is like +20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. It's a la the Knicks starting Taj Gibson over Mitch Robinson because they don't want Mitch Robinson to get in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, there makes no sense about this move. And Atkinson definitely deserved better about this because the job he did was tremendous with the no names he had on this team. I understand that we live in the society of win now culture. I get that. But the fact that he built a team out of nothing that was a playoff contender
took him a while.
Yeah, it took him a while, but
because his first full season wasn't any better. He was last in the league with a record of 20-62.
Right, but he had enough time to develop talent, which you don't get often in professional sports, no matter what sport it is. He had time to develop. D'Angelo Russell is a superstar because of him. But to get treated like this because your star franchise guys want to bring in their own coaches, their own players, you're obviously hurting your product long term.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not willing to take the hard stance and say, hey, this is our coach, what has he done to warrant himself getting terminated?
Right.
What? They're a playoff contender without your big assets of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant this season. Irving hasn't been there enough to really say he made an impact,
no,
in my opinion.
Absolutely not.
When you sit here and you talk about the fact that you had a budding team on the verge of, being able to make headway in the NBA, especially in the Eastern Conference where stars are leaving by the boatload. Let's face it, they all went out west. So, you sit here and you're having a young team like this, and you see the pending free agents that are coming up. Did you have to rush in to sign an injury-prone and head case that is Kyrie Irving? Because, let's face it, he is not 100% in those faculties right now.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely gets in his own way. Kyrie Irving's worst enemy is Kyrie Irving. And Kevin Durant, who, you really don't know what Kevin Durant you're going to get because you're either going to get a Kevin Durant that's in his feels or you're going to get easy money sniper. You never know which one of those two is going to show up. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're paying this man to sit the entire year and then you shut down Kyrie Irving and you have a coach here who has a winning pedigree, and you let him go just because of two players that you brought in don't want him, it's not like he was losing.
Right.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not like it's like
he wasn't having a ton of huge success, but
right. But it's not like it was a David Blatt situation with LeBron, where it was like LeBron. There was a clashing of styles. Like it just didn't work between the two of them because he was not implementing what LeBron wanted to be doing.
Right.
And when he came from Miami, obviously Eric Spoelstra deferred to him and D Wade a lot and built an offense that was spread out that they could run in. So when they brought Blatt in, and everything got tight in the paint, that's not the way that LeBron wants to play. So, you knew there was going to be an inevitable change there because they just weren't getting along.
Right.
This is something totally different where, and they were losing at the time. They were like on a 7-game losing streak at the time that they let Blatt go. But LeBron was there and playing. This is a different scenario where Atkinson is here and they're playing pretty well. They're in the playoff hunt up until Kyrie got shut down. And now you're like, that's it? You're going to pull the plug? To me, and now what? You're going to go and get Ty Lue just because Kyrie wants him?
Right. And for Kyrie's track record, he doesn't warrant that power.
No.
I'm sorry. Take a look at what he did in Boston.
Right.
Crickets.
And what he did in Cleveland without LeBron.
I mean, arguably, Boston went on that win streak and got into the playoffs without Kyrie playing. So what does that tell you?
That spoke volumes.
And they're just as good this year with Kemba at the point than they were last year.
I just want to point out, currently as we sit here recording, Boston doing very well for themselves. Currently 42-21, right in the thick of things.
Right.
Yeah, Boston didn't lose a beat. In fact, they got better.
Yeah,
so they're currently the 3 seed out east, while Brooklyn is currently the 7 seed.
Tatum, has blossomed as a player this year, and I don't want to sit here and say it's at the because of Kyrie's leaving, but
a spade is a
spade. You
look at the numbers.
You look at the differential between who's there and who's not, and you look at the performance of last year versus this.
He must be switched clam chowder.
The common factor.
Well, this just goes to show the problems that we as Knicks fans are now avoiding, and them not coming to the Garden is going to be a good thing, not a bad thing.
Right.
I know, because can you imagine the drama that would be going on right now?
If this was the Knicks firing Fizdale because Kyrie Irving didn't want him there, this story would be everywhere.
Put it to you this way: if Kyrie Irving was on the Knicks, you'd have never heard about the Spike Lee situation.
Well, right, but right. The Fizdale firing would have been, instead of a positive spin of, all right, maybe this guy wasn't the right guy, which was what the stories were. It would have been, Kyrie doesn't want Fizdale.
Yeah.
And his, this, that, and the third of, the players running the Knicks, and all that. Like, it would have just been an ugly spin that the media would have crushed the Knicks on. And instead, here's the Nets doing this, and crickets.
Well, because the Nets are still in the shadow of the Knicks.
Right. And not only just that, but the fact that it was probably just expected by this point. The Nets just, it feels like a net move to do now that you went out and because that whole culture building aspect was torn away, this offseason. So probably people were already prepared for it,
Well, I think that either you're buying into the hype of a super team forming in Brooklyn, but you still don't know what you're going to get out of Kevin Durant next year physically.
Right.
Because I know today there was, videotape of him dunking. And working out loosely. But still, coming back from an Achilles tear is damn near impossible.
And the thing we got to remember is he looked real good when he was with the Golden State Warriors, but that's the thing you got to remember. They had very good pieces around him with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and everybody else on that team. So I would argue you can throw me on that team, and I've got no basketball skills, and I'll look like $1 million player. Which Kevin Durant are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that looked good with Golden State because he had a lot of good players around him, or are we going to get the Kevin Durant from Oklahoma City, who had flashes of brilliance? Let's not forget he won an MVP when he was out there. Are we going to get the MVP Kevin Durant from Oklahoma City, or are we going to get the one that has to try and feel like he has to do everything?
Or we're going to get the one that is going to be fighting with Kyrie when the honeymoon phase is over mid-season.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and that's the biggest thing. Kyrie had this entire year to play by himself.
Yeah.
So that's why his hands-on experience with Atkinson ultimately probably drove the stake in between their relationship. So now next year, now you're going to have KD in the fold. Obviously, whoever you pick up in free agency and off-season trades or whatever, that's all going to come in the fold. Now it's going to be a whole chemistry issue because at the end of the day, Kyrie hasn't played with KD.
No.
Right.
They don't know what that dynamic's going to be like. Steph Curry, for all that, he does, is, definitely from a basketball IQ standpoint, he knows who's hot. And as a point guard, he's not going to just toss up shots for the sake of tossing up shots. If KD's got a mismatch, he's going to give it to KD in the paint. He's a heads-up basketball player.
Well, so, I would also say he's got a personality that makes him very likable and easy to work with.
Right. Like, he's willing to defer, is basically what I'm trying to say. Is Kyrie going to be the same way when he has KD next year? That we don't know. It's hard to say. He didn't necessarily do it with LeBron.
I'll say he didn't really have to do it when he was with LeBron, because LeBron was such an alpha, everything runs through me. I pick everything. I do this. I do that. That Kyrie could kind of take a step back and go, okay, I'll just play. Right. I'll do what I have to do.
But that's what ultimately demanded his trade to Boston was because of that alphaness, because they both are the same type, And to Kyrie's credit, I understand why he does that, because the man can put the balls in the hoop. The man scored buckets.
Yeah.
But is he better than Kyrie, than KD?
No.
I mean, so the problem is that this is going to be the same relationship as a Russell Westbrook and KD, which is going to drive a stake between the two of them. Now, this is all just speculating because, obviously, again, we haven't seen them play together.
Right.
We haven't seen them play together, but the one thing that I would say is we need to watch for is as soon as the honeymoon phase is over, because that will happen quick, because when you're in the pressure cooker that is known as New York City media, and you're on the back page of the Post and the Daily News every day, and if you're not on that back cover, and it's going to be Kevin Durant, how much is his ego going to handle that?
Because let's face it, the offseason for the Knicks, like we've talked about, is probably going to be pretty low-key. So, I mean, the idea is, Giannis in 2 years. So if they have a low-key offseason, unless they draft, like, the Nets are probably sitting here praying that the Knicks draft LaMelo Ball. Like, that is, I mean, if I was the Nets, PR people, I would be like, please, for the love of God, Knicks fall to where LaMelo Ball is and pick him, because then LeVar will come, and that will take away any Nets attention that could be negative from, that year, because anything LeVar does will get back post media.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows that. So, best case scenario, the Knicks don't take him and they take, Cole Anthony, and, it's just a quiet, low-key season for the Knicks. So if that happens, all the eyes and attention are going to be those two playing together next year. If that goes the way that I hope it goes for the Knicks, they'll fly under the radar. All that attention will be there on the Nets. So any little problem, any little gesture of, like, confrontation, boom, back page, blown up. All over the place.
It'll be like when the season started for Houston with Russell Westbrook reuniting with James Harden. And what was it, like the first couple games or whatever it was, where there was that shot of them having just a simple disagreement. They weren't mad at each other.
Right.
They weren't pissed at each other, but they had a disagreement and voices got a little raised and they looked a little frustrated. But the media took with it and ran with it like, oh my God,
now
they hate each other.
Imagine that media times infinity in New York.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because they'll ask, they'll just go up to them, hey, what was with that argument that you two had? Oh, it wasn't an argument.
Because we living in the New York area know how rabid the New York media can get. But you multiply that by the fact it's the national media, because the national story, like you said, Knicks are going to fly under the radar because, let's be honest, the bar's not that high. Nobody's really expecting, gold-plated anything out of them.
Right. Low-key off-season, quiet. Yeah.
But the focus all next season, no matter even who wins the championship, like, forget about LeBron, forget about Golden State. There'll be stories, yeah, sure. But the focus is going to be, hey, Kevin Durant's coming back. Let's see what they can do. They can do in Brooklyn. I'd be willing to bet a fair number of Brooklyn games are going to be on national television next year because
for sure.
It's going to be the focus.
They'll load up, but the thing that you need to watch for is if they don't come out 15-0 out the gate with all. No. What I'm saying is this: if they don't come out, how quick is that media going to jump on them?
Oh, if they I would compare it to that Knicks run, where they had the Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah team that they started like 4-2, and everybody was like, "Oh, the Knicks are back," and then they went on that putrid like 0-30 run, and then everybody was shitting on them. Like if they come out and they start out 14-2, everything's gonna be gravy,
right?
But if they start like 4-12 or 4-14, because 8-8. It's still, the spin can be it's early season,
right.
chemistry, blah, blah, blah. But if they come out 4-12, you bet your bottom dollar there's going to be issues.
Yeah, and exactly. Doing moves like this is only going to heighten that awareness.
Yeah.
That you had your coach removed, which I would love to see Atkinson come over to the Knicks.
Oh, there's no way.
You never say never. I will have dumb, optimistic hope.
I mean, I'm definitely not sold on. I mean, if we're going to go there, I'm definitely not sold on Mike Miller.
No, I'm not.
Whatever Miller. I keep calling. Yeah, it is Mike Miller.
It is Mike Miller.
Fucking. I mean, listen.
I know I got you too worked up.
Now you got me going. Because, come on, man. I mean, Mitchell, the season's lost. Like, what are you trying to do? If anything, just show that you can develop players. I mean, that's why you were brought up from the G League to the NBA, because of your player development with the Westchester Knicks. You won a championship with that team where, I mean, their leading scorer was, Damian Dotson. The guard's escaping me right now. And then they had the center, not Wooten, but the kid before him that was blocking all the shots. But you had those guys, and you won a championship with them That's why they brought you up to the NBA, because it was like, all right, we're drafting RJ. We need a guy with player development skills that can, help turn around Kevin Knox, and B, develop Kevin Durant and elevate his game. And instead, you got Alonzo Trier and Damian Dotson sitting for Wayne Ellington and Reggie fucking Bullock. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
No, I agree with you.
Play the young guy. Alonzo Trier is a bowler. He came in that Charlotte game, dropped 14 points in like 12 minutes of playing. Come on, dude.
Right. So that's why I said this offseason they'll need to do something. And once you give Rose some time to make some moves.
I know we're buying into the hype again, Ken. We're doing it again.
Well, yeah, because
the definition of insanity is being a Knicks fan, like I've said before.
No, because
it really is.
Because you know what? I'm looking across the river at Brooklyn, and I feel better about myself. So let me have my moment, man. Let me go.
I mean, whoever they bring in, Kenny Atkinson would be. He was part of the Knicks organization, which is actually probably going to be his downfall because Dolan hates bringing back any assistant coaches who left for head coaching positions. It's the dumbest, most oddest thing that this man does, because you literally, if you were assistant coach and you left, you're shunned. You're gone. You're never coming back to the Garden as a coach. Atkinson would be a great, hire. I think that they're going to do the flashy thing and go with Kidd, but I want Rose to do the right thing, and I want to believe that he'll do the right thing.
So we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So
yeah, sure.
So let's hope this, but let's end on a little more positive note. Playoff seeding, or playoff berths are now getting
locked in. The Lakers. Wow.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about them.
Because we all said at the beginning of the year for our NBA preview that it was going to be the Clippers and then everybody else. Currently standing right now, the Lakers are 49-13.
Well, the Clippers' worst enemy is load management.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think we took into effect the fact that Doc was going to sit Leonard and Paul George as much as he sat him. Which is fine. Whatever.
Fair, though, they're still sitting at the second seed, 43-20.
Oh yeah, nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, they're still winning games, but load management definitely should have been factored into our predictions because that's killing us.
Yeah, but the Lakers are on a tear right now.
They they took it to the Clippers last game, and they had a very good defense. They had a good offensive strategy, which was take it to Lou Williams.
In their last 10 games, they are 9-1.
Yeah, exactly. LeBron and company are turning it on at the right time,
and LeBron is what's playing, and LeBron's playing well,
yeah.
Which is the scary thing. Because if he continues on this consistency and continues to be on this tear, there is little to do to stop him.
No, he's definitely on a mission this year, and
rightfully so.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Obviously, he's dedicated the season to Kobe. That he is just playing like a man possessed, and it showed in that game. He took it right to L.A., had no fear about it, and really want to make that a statement win. I know we throw that term around a lot, but that was a statement win to go and punch the Clippers right in the mouth. And they have locked in that they're going to be in the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. And, currently sitting at the number 1 seed, it's looking crazy to me at the beginning of the year when they did the fire sale to get Anthony Davis to come to L.A. that they'd be doing this well and just running through the West.
Currently LeBron averaging just over 25 points a game, just about 8 rebounds a game, and then 10.6 assists per game.
I think my thing with LeBron is that I feel like, and he's always been this way. He's always been willing to defer, much of the chagrin of the, national public and media, everybody, LeBron will never take the big shot and whatnot, and he's always been willing to defer. I think that when they brought Anthony Davis in, I think LeBron knew that he needed help. I think LeBron knew that, the only way that he was going to be successful was with somebody like Anthony Davis. And genuinely, it seems like the two of them just like playing together.
Well, and you look at
that helps.
You look at LeBron's history. LeBron, when he's at his best or at his most successful, he's had players around him. Obviously the Miami years, but you look at the years he was in Cleveland, he had some players around him, albeit maybe not to the level and caliber of a Anthony Davis. But you look back to some of those early years in Cleveland, he's making something out of nothing, but he really didn't have anything around him.
Right, but now you paired him with another MVP caliber player.
Yeah.
And just look at the success they're having.
Nice of you to give JaVale McGee a shine like that.
Yeah, well, I'm in the giving mood. It's not the holiday season, but I just feel like giving props. No, but for him and Anthony Davis to be doing what they're doing, this is really paying off. And obviously clinching a playoff spot this early, truly a testament to how good the Lakers are playing. And this is going to be a fun conference to watch for the playoffs. I mean, everybody, if you're looking at the seeding right now, if the season ended, the Lakers are the number 1, Clippers are the 2, Denver is 3, Utah is 4, Oklahoma City's 5, Houston's 6, Dallas is 7, and the Grizzlies would be 8.
Yep. I know, John Morant playing real well.
Yeah. I mean, how crazy is that? There's so much going on with the NBA that is not drama, so that's what I think we'll focus on ending the segment with.
I mean, hold on, because, I mean, that Memphis team is obviously with John Morant is playing tremendous, and that is amazing to see a rookie come in and lead a team the way that he is. But it will be very interesting to see as we go on into the Western Conference playoffs, because 1 through 6 is very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because Houston being a 6 seed, although they are playing true small ball, can be, I mean, if they're knocking down the 3, they're going to run lights out on you because they're playing better defensively. And that's something that people aren't really realizing, that their defensive statistics, although playing small ball, are actually better than they were when they had Clint Capella, which is nuts to think about. And that Utah team is a quiet sleeper because with that change that they made in the starting lineup with Royce O'Neal starting over Mike Conley, they've actually been playing a lot better basketball. And then you talk about Denver. And Denver's no sleeper either. I mean, Denver's a very, very dangerous team that when you get them in a 7-round series and you got to play, you know, the big fella and Paul Millsap in a 7-round series, that's going to be tough to contend with, especially as a Laker and a Clipper team that, you know, Kawhi plays minutes at the 4, Paul George plays minutes at the 4, and LeBron plays minutes at the 4. You know, covering Paul Millsap is no joke. So the playoff race is going to be very interesting in the West. And then in the East, you know, Boston, Toronto, you know, those are going to be your teams that you're going to hear about. Obviously, Philly will be in the mix. And then Milwaukee. Yeah. And they're very, very good this year.
Yeah, there's going to be so many storylines going on with that. I mean, Coach even had to throw about the Memphis, too. I mean, there's so much going on with the NBA right now that the playoffs are going to be the fun thing, and it'll definitely take you out of the mind frame of watching Brooklyn self-implode because the start is happening right now.
Yep.
So definitely hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts on the current state of the Brooklyn Nets? Was it a smart move to get rid of their coach or not? And how is your team doing for the NBA playoffs moving forward? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is RJ, Ash,
Ray, Brandon, Harrison, and Bronson.
We host a Dungeons & Dragons podcast called Realms and Nerds. Some highlights of our show include wreaking havoc in every town we visit, blowing up hot tubs,
killing off fan favorite characters,
high necromancers,
inappropriate wedding etiquette, and every now and then, actually good storytelling.
Join us in the realms of Pridea for fun fantasy adventures. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or just about wherever you get podcasts.
Hi, this is Tyler from Second Suitor, and you're listening to the ODPH podcast. I want you to get it. I want you to understand. I'm doing the best I can, but not as good as I want to be. I just want to get it. I just want to comprehend that I have to make amends.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Got to talk a little UFC action from this past weekend.
Oh, boy, do we ever.
UFC 248 went down in Las Vegas, and man, did it have some good, some bad, and some ugly going on in that card.
Real ugly.
Absolutely. So, Pad, why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, so why don't we just skip... first of all, we're going to talk about the fight that we didn't talk about last week because who knew what the heck we were going to get out of this, and that would be the lightweight matchup that took place in the card.
Okay, break it down.
Yeah, so you had Beneil Dariush taking on Drakkar Klose. Apologies if I butchered those names. But you had Beneil Dariush coming out of nowhere, much like a Randy Orton RKO, and knocking out Drakkar Klose in a moment that is very worthy of the moment, the clip from the movie Friday where they say, damn, you just got knocked the fuck out.
Coach, have you seen that clip?
I saw the reaction shot of the broadcasters, you know, doing the... You know, the oh shit grab, oh, you know, that was, which was, you know, a reaction out of, you know, especially guys like Joe Rogan and
Daniel Cormier.
Daniel Cormier. To get a reaction like that out of the guys who have, you know, been around the fight game for years like this, you know, it must have been one hell of a TKO.
Let's break it down like this. We did the watch party after Excite Wrestling over at Rich's house from Rich from Three Fat Nerds podcast. So it was me, him, and Dog watching. When we saw the first round of this, Darush was on Close's back for the entire round. He had him in a body triangle trying to secure a rear naked choke. And literally spent 3 minutes on his back. So wasn't really sure how we're going to get out of this, because usually when you exert that much energy trying to put on a submission hold like that, you usually burn your arms out.
Mm-hmm.
Did not happen in that second round. Darush got Close, pressed up against the cage, and he landed a left shot where you saw his mouthpiece, Close's mouthpiece, come out. And he was clearly looking forward, and you knew the lights were out in the building.
Mm-hmm.
The ref jumped in and immediately waved it off, and you can find the video reaction online. Daniel Cormier lost his mind. So did Joe Rogan, John Anik, who were all sitting there doing commentary, and it is hysterical to see their reaction. But Darush looked good. He called out Michael Chiesa at the end of that, which I thought was a little kind of odd, but we'll kind of have to wait and see what he has moving forward with that. But it was a hell of a knockout. I don't know if it'd be knockout of the year, but it was a damn good knockout. But if we're going to give out yearly awards early,
it's an early contender.
There is an early contender. Pad, break it down.
Yeah. So the next up was the co-main event for the women's strawweight championship with champion Zhang Weili taking on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Zhang Weili defended her championship by a split decision in a match for the ages.
Coach, let me put it to you this way. Zhang and Jędrzejczyk went 5 rounds of just nonstop action.
I saw the pre-fight picture of Jędrzejczyk, and I saw the post-fight picture of Jędrzejczyk, and it did not look the same.
No.
If you want to talk a battle, if you want to talk about a war, like we throw that around in fighting a lot in combat sports, this is your definition of it. Jędrzejczyk looked sharp the entire fight, even with that nasty second head hematoma that was growing out of her forehead. You can find the pictures online.
It's nasty.
Because Zhang was nailing her with power shots.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, Jędrzejczyk was nailing combos out of nowhere and with sharp crispness.
Mm-hmm.
That Zhang's face was definitely telling the story that she was in a battle. I had this scored Jędrzejczyk 3-2 on the scorecard. You could have told me it was going to go the other way, and I would not have argued with you, because how the fact that both of these amazing fighters did not get stopped in this match is blowing my mind, because the amount of punishment they were giving each other is incredible. The only thing I can compare it to, if you're a longtime MMA fan, it is Dan Henderson, Shogun Rua, first fight. Not the sequel, the first one.
Where Dan was all messed up.
Both those fighters were messed up, and honestly, I had the same reaction I had at that fight when they were going to decision, and I believe Dog asked me, he's like, "Who do you think won?" I'm like, "We did." I could not. I literally was like, this could go either way. I am not going to dispute this. And, Pad, you got the results?
No, the decision went, split decision for the fight there. It went 48-47, 47-48, and then 48-47.
Yes, for your strawweight champion, Weili Zhang.
Mm-hmm.
Did not argue it. Was completely fine with it. And the minute that decision got read off, I immediately said they need to run it back.
And understandably so, it won the fight of the night bonus for the card.
It absolutely deserves it. I don't see a point not to. I mean, looking at the rankings going on, I mean, Rose Namajunas is coming back. I know that she has a fight coming up soon. And obviously, with Andrade just losing to Zhang, I don't think they do an immediate rematch there. So, that being said, this fight makes a ton of sense to run back, and it will be a classic again, because Jędrzejczyk is an absolute monster at that weight class. Let her come back, and this one, like I said, Jędrzejczyk, I thought won the fight, but I'm not disputing it. It's not like a crazy decision that I sat there and was like, no, this isn't right. This is not happening. This fight is a fight that you want to show fight fans that have been tuning out from the UFC. Put this fight on and let them watch. And if they're not hooked back on the UFC after watching this, they're done with MMA, and I can't help you. That being said, that was the good.
We'll say just a quick end note for what it's worth. Both Zhang and Jurjacek have received 60-day medical suspensions. Because understandably so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no question. You can find the pictures online of Jurjacek's forehead and the hematoma she had. And how it looked like it was a scene from Alien with a second head coming out of her forehead.
Yeah, like I wasn't able to watch the fight because I had some other stuff going on, but I opened up Facebook the next morning and the comparison photo was one of the first things I saw. And honest to God, I saw the comparison photo and my first thought was, oh my God, did her head get caved in?
Yeah.
Because that's what it looked like.
Well, Zhang was just nailing power shots that she was connecting. It wasn't like she wasn't connecting anything. Because Jurjacek was nailing her combos in her sleep. Like, she was looking so precise with her striking that it was giving Zhang fits. But Zhang was still pressing the action, and she was doing what she needed to do to try winning the fight. And like I say, I can't argue it. I can't say that she didn't earn that win. She absolutely did. And that's why I say they need to run this back. Because I hate when they have classic matches like this, and we don't run it back for like a year. Because you really take the moment out of the fight when it's a sequel like that.
Right.
It just needs to be an immediate rematch. No argument there. However soon you can do it, let's make it happen. Because like I said, that was the good of the fight card. The ugly was the knockout. And now we have to go to the bad.
Yeah.
Because this was real bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anybody for ballroom dancing? The main event, of course, was the middleweight championship matchup between Israel Adesanya taking on challenger Yoel Romero, with Israel Adesanya retaining his championship via unanimous decision, 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46.
Coach, do you have any thoughts before I go ranting on this?
Well, I want to just kind of dive into the minds of a fighter being in a big fight like that. So, I mean, maybe, Mike, Common Man would be able to better explain the thought process that goes into something like that. Because, going into the fight, I mean, obviously being a, mild to, moderate UFC fan versus you, Ken, the avid, UFC watcher, and I watched the early days, like the Chuck Liddell days, like I knew a lot more, sure. And since that point, I've kind of stepped back a little bit from it. But, I almost feel like now, in these big fight fields where, we talk about the fight that, either one of these guys have such dangerous hands that, if they get a hold of each other, the fight's going to be over. Like they're both dangerous hands, both dangerous fighters. So I almost wonder if, like, going into those kind of fights with both guys being so dangerous, is it almost like and the controversy here is obviously the first 45 seconds of the fight, where literally, and I mean the whole fight was controversial, but literally the first 45 seconds where they literally didn't even touch each other.
Yeah, as I say, Google, YouTube search some ballroom dancing music, find a clip of the thing and put it to it. It works perfectly.
Is there almost a fear of, the potential of leaving yourself open during that early feeling out period that you might get knocked out, that fighters feel like they need to do this? Because you don't see this in the fights of lesser stature. Like those early card fights, those guys are going out trying to make a name for themselves and they're going full tilt, But in these kind of fights with this big fight feel, dangerous guys, big hands, big throw, big punch power, you see this a lot. You see this real timid, feeling it out process, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're 45 seconds in and both guys are still kind of feeling it out, where it's like, all right, guys, let's pitter-patter here, let's get at her.
It's not uncommon to see, like you said, the feeling out period where they might not do anything for their first, 45 seconds or so. They're trying to get the timing down and get this down.
Yeah, rhythm.
I know John's notorious for it. You
absolutely.
pick
certain fighters are, yeah.
Pick a John Jones fight where he's defending his belt, and that's going to absolutely happen in the first round. But I think what may have happened here is Yoel might have psyched himself out on this one, where he might have overthought it, or maybe, sat in his head a little too much and just psyched himself out and just, for whatever reason, didn't throw a punch.
To John's credit, though, he's a surgeon in there.
Yeah.
His feeling it out process literally is, because he is like a computer. He's literally data crunching while you're in there with him right now, trying to pick apart the pieces that he sees. These guys, though, they're not that kind of fighter. So it was like really, when I saw that first 45 seconds of the opening round after you sent it in the group, Josh, I was like, oh, no, that's not good.
No, the thing about this fight, which, to kind of give a little backstory behind it, Adesanya is the closest thing we're having to a second coming of Anderson Silva. Adesanya is that good, undefeated, and really wants to go for a legacy fight, and that's why he took the fight against Romero. Romero has been on a losing streak, but if you really want to debate the fights he's lost to Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa, they could have gone either way. Their decision. In fact, the Whittaker one was a split that a lot of people thought he had won.
Right.
So going into this fight, nobody wanted any part of Romero. Romero is like a literal man of steel, and he is a counter puncher, which is going to play into effect of how I'm breaking this fight down.
Mm-hmm.
Adesanya could have waited around for Costa to get healthy because Costa is currently rehabbing an injury. That being said, he wanted legacy. He's like, everybody's afraid of Romero. I'm not afraid of Romero.
Which good for you.
Which is great. It's great that he took the fight. I mean, he came out to the weird flower pageantry and such, which I understand he's trying to be a little more boxing theatrical when he comes to the cage. Okay, sure. But once you get in that cage, if you're the one saying you want this fight and you want to be the aggressor,
you want the smoke,
and you want the smoke, like the Street Profits say in the WWE, you have to back that up.
Yeah. You're going to talk a big game and you're going to, carry a big stick. You better be ready to swing it.
Yeah, because in the first round, Romero stood there waiting because he is a counter puncher. Now, Adesanya's game is like Anderson Silva and John Jones. We want to break it down like that.
Yeah.
They do the feeling out process. They kind of say, okay, how's the opponent going to do? Well, what happens when you have two counter punchers in there? Well, somebody's got to be the aggressor. Now, if you're the one talking all that trash, that you want legacy and you are not afraid of them, you need to step up and you need to strike.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a counterpuncher, Ken. What do you do?
This is where your mouth kind of has to write that check and you need to cash it.
Yeah.
Because you need to get in there and attack. Because there was a combined, if I did my math right, I'm not looking at the exact stats right now. There was a combined 13 strikes thrown that first round.
That's gross.
Between two fighters. Exactly. So you want
that's bad.
Yeah.
And it was more of the same in the second round. But the guy who was throwing, albeit though it had no sense of urgency, but he was connecting, was Romero, which is the weirdest thing to me because he had no foot movement going in with this fight.
Right, and I got to kind of point to something Dana said afterwards, which I'm not going to directly quote him because I can't remember everything he said, but I really
paraphrase it.
I'll paraphrase, and I really agree with what he said. He didn't kind of crap on Romero, but he kind of called him out a little bit. Where you're in a championship fight where it potentially could be the last championship fight of his career because as we sit here recording, he's 42. He'll be 43 at the end of April.
Yeah.
He's got more fights behind him than he probably does ahead of him. Mm-hmm. So the championship opportunities he's got in his future are few and far between. Dana basically said, you can't leave anything to chance. You can't leave anything in the octagon. You've got to lay it all out there and just basically go for it. Don't sit there waiting for your opponent to do something. If your opponent's not doing something, go for him.
Oh, I fully agree with that because he was waiting too long because he wanted to try dictating the pace of the fight. And that is a problem that I will stress on him because there's two faults in this fight overall. Adesanya talking and saying he wants legacy and this, that. You needed to establish that you were that guy and you could strike and you could definitely start picking him apart. You needed to be an aggressor in your own right because had the judges called it a different way, because as we've talked about many times on this show, if you leave it in their hands, you never know what the hell you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, Romero, this is your last shot. This is your 8-mile speech. If you have one shot, you're going to let it slip? You did because you tried forcing your will and you didn't make it happen. You connected on a couple shots, and especially in the third round, or no, it was the second round, rather, he hit him with an overhand right and staggered him to the point where Adesanya was clearly hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Coach, you've seen enough fights.
Sure.
If you attack somebody and you stagger them in a fight, what do you do?
Oh, you got to go in for the kill. That's something that drives me nuts. When guys, get them staggered and they kind of let them
What
come
do
to
I
their
do
feet,
now?
or they kind of just let them, if they go to the ground and you can see that they're in a haze, especially like for a guy who's a Muay Thai guy, or not Muay Thai, but they're Muay Thai.
Right, you're right.
They'll go to the ground and they're afraid that they'll get caught in something. It's like, go finish the fight.
Yeah, Pat.
Like if the man's falling down backwards, bouncing his head off the mat, and you're like, oh no, I better not get the up kick. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Go for it. Like, go for broke. If you get caught with one, shrug it off, dude.
Well, that was the thing, because Romero staggered him, and he let him stand. He did not jump on.
You can't do that.
And once he did that, that's when the fight, I believe, swayed to Adesanya, who all he was doing was throwing leg kicks. Not devastating leg kicks, albeit, though, there was welts forming on Romero's thighs.
That piles up.
Well, it didn't affect him too bad because somebody asked him in the post-fight presser how his legs were feeling. He got up and did the salsa.
Well, that's the thing. He
did a Victor Cruz salsa.
He was wearing the scars, but he wasn't hurt by them. And then when it came to the 5th round, because I'm going to jump ahead because literally that's all this fight was 2 rounds went to Romero, 2 rounds went to Adesanya, and then however you wanted to describe that abysmal 5th round where Romero at the end of it literally threw his hands down and was screaming at Adesanya to hit him.
I mean, to be fair, the fans were probably saying that to Romero in the 1st round.
Oh, they were all screaming. The fans, you turned a very rabid UFC crowd into a mob scene almost because they were just screaming to do something.
I mean,
this is your main event.
It's to be expected. This fight, of course, took place at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Much like we say with wrestling, and for any wrestling fans, you got the smart cities. You Chicago, Philly, just to name a few. The Vegas folks, they're very smart. They're not going to sit there and just like, oh, hey, we're watching what we're watching. No, they'll make their opinions heard.
Exactly. So why both coaches were not telling their fighters respectively to go in for it was very puzzling to me.
Yeah, I mean, the coach should have been sitting there going, you fucking suck right now. Go for broke.
Well, I think that's to more so say how we've been talking about the change in scoring, where maybe they post, at least maybe give an inkling of where the fight is. So, like, both fighters could know, all right, it's a 2-2 and now we're going to the 5th. Or maybe, I mean, I don't know, like maybe even if it's a tie, have something where like it's the judges' scorecard's a tie. We're going to the 5th, and then like that 5th round is just like scored on its own. I know we're getting off topic here, but like that, maybe that's the solution.
There had to be something in there because both camps, I thought, did this fight very badly.
Because again, like as a coach, yes, you know who the judges are there judging your fight. You can kind of get a back, especially if you're a good coach. You can get a pattern and a development for like how they score fights. So going in, all right, this guy looks for this. This guy's looking for that. So like both guys could be under the interpretation that their fighters are doing the things that are satisfying the judge's scorecard that they probably thought that one was ahead of the other, and they don't know. So that's why it's tough on the coach to be like, hey, you need to go in. You got to knock out, it's go for broke. Because what if he was wrong? He goes for broke, gets countered, gets knocked out, and all of a sudden it's like scorecard was actually 3-2 him.
But the thing about that is it's always tough to try trusting what a judge is thinking. And that
right.
I understand what you're saying completely. I get that. It's a tough line to walk. But if you're in this fight and with the judging system that you have currently in place, you needed to show octagon aggression and control. Neither fighter did that.
Right, you got to play to the rules that are in front of you, and I get that. But at the same time, as a coach, you don't want to be the guy, that sends your dude in for that last round and gets him knocked out because you're like, no, you got to press. And then the next thing you know, he gets countered and he's on his back.
But that's the risk you take because at that point. As crazy as it sounds, the fight, a lot of people could have said was tied. They could have said it going in there. So it's like you need to do something. And for Romero, this is your last shot. You had to do something. You didn't even need this. You're lucky you got this title fight. You just lost your past 2.
Yeah.
You're on the back end of this.
Because let's not forget, if it wasn't for Paulo Costa being injured and then trying to get cleared off of a fake doctor, which is a whole other story. You can look up on your own time. That's real weird. he, like you said, he wouldn't be here. And like I said, he's 42, about to be 43 years old. This very well could be his last championship opportunity.
Yeah, and the only thing he could argue that he won the 5th round is he literally threw his hands down at one point and started screaming at Adesanya to hit him.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's how judges are, viewing.
But that's the thing. Judging in MMA is
right. But that's also a problem. All right, yes, the fight sucked. But what are we talking about now?
Now we're talking about what happens after because...
Well, judging, but yes, that too. I mean, sure, great segue, me, but, I was saying the judges was the answer, ladies and gentlemen. I was looking for who is the judges.
Yes, well, it changes every time. So I mean,
but that's a problem.
It's a problem, but I don't think it was the problem affecting this fight per se. It was the problem that the fighters did not give the judges anything to work with. And
that too. I mean,
that's my driving point with this argument because with the results and how one judge scored at 49-46, I had nothing. And just hearing Adesanya's excuse is look at the leg. That's all he said in the post-fight interview.
Yeah, but
look at the leg.
I mean, if you ticky-tack a leg.
Yeah, but you're right because it comes down to the judge's equation and however you want to score it. But this one was a prime example of just how bad a fight could be that literally the judges, depending on who it was, could have gone a different way with it. The fighters did nothing to sell their case about why they should have won. And I understand why they gave it to Adesanya because Romero did nothing to argue his case. It's just he really made Adesanya look bad for a guy that called him out and was screaming legacy and I'm going to knock him out, I'm going to do this. You did nothing. And the one fighter who's sitting there on the cage side and he was ready to fight both of them was Paulo Costa because Costa almost tried getting in the cage after. So
because he was trying to give the fans some entertainment.
Exactly. So mark my words, when Costa fights Adesanya, Costa's winning that one because Costa is definitely going to go all for broke in this one. But to tie in with your point that you're saying about the judges, the judges, who knows what they're watching, and that's always going to be a problem in MMA. How do we fix it? You have to train judges better. That's the only thing I could say.
I was saying also expecting a judge to be thinking and seeing the fight the same way you, the coach, or you, the fighter, are. You got a better shot of winning the lottery.
Right, but with this fight, they gave him nothing to work with. Absolutely nothing. And I understand why the fans were booing. This fight was putting me to sleep. And especially staying up till 3 o'clock on the East Coast to watch it.
Thanks to Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah, this was not doing me any favors.
Thanks to the East Coast getting screwed over with all sporting events.
Yeah. But overall, like I say, the fight that everybody should be talking about, and I'm glad they are, was Zhang and Jędrzejczyk. This one can be a wash, and if Adesanya thinks he's ready for John Jones after this one, forget about it. John will destroy you within 2 rounds.
I'd say 1.
No, he'll toy around for the first one, then he'll finish him off.
Yeah, that's true.
Either way, UFC 248 had a lot to be desired. What was your takeaway on that? Who did you think really won that fight? I say nobody for the main event, and we need to definitely look at judges, how they're looking at scoring these fights like Coach touched upon. That's a great conversation we need to have on social media. So let's have it up. Hashtag it up, ODPH, and we'll take a quick break and be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, local minute, please.
Oh, of course, talking local minute. We got to talk some Binghamton Devils hockey news because, my God, have they been on a run.
Break it down.
Looking at their games from this past week, they had a home game Friday against the Penguins where they won by the final score of 6-4. Stayed home on Saturday to play the Lehigh Valley Phantoms and won by the final score of 5-1. And then Sunday, they traveled down to Scranton to play the Penguins again, where they won by the final score of 3-0. Looking ahead to their games they got this coming week, they've got a game this Wednesday up in Rochester against the Americans, game time 7:05. Friday, they've got a game in playing the Laval Rockets. Game time 7:05, and then they stay up there and play the Rockets again on Saturday. Game time 3 p.m. They return home on March 18th, but we got to talk about the Devils because they were kind of on the ropes. They weren't looking too good. All of a sudden, they've kind of rallied things, and they're back into. They're kind of in playoff contention. Last I looked, they were in the 5th seed or 5th in their conference, so they're looking really good.
It is absolutely crazy to see the turnaround that the Binghamton Devils have done. Coach, let me throw this crazy stat at you.
Okay.
All right. What do you think the Binghamton Devils record is since December?
I'm going to assume that they have They have 5 losses during this period. I have no idea how many games they've played. So
total, they've played 61 games overall. I looked up these standings. They are in 4th place in the North Division with a record of 33-24 for the season.
I'm going to assume that they've had 5 losses during this streak.
Pat, you got that number?
Yeah, they've won 30 games as of Sunday.
Okay.
It's absolutely insane.
30-9.
30. That was close.
Yeah, 30-9 in this stretch.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Absolutely crazy. Shout out to the Devils, man. They're making playoff talk.
Yeah.
Don't want to jinx anything, but...
No, yeah, they're looking really good. And also got to mention, since baseball season is almost upon us, we are 1 month away from Binghamton Rumble Ponies opening day.
Oh, a lot of stuff going on.
I do know individual game tickets are on sale. For more information on that and information on the 2020 All-Star Game, which is taking place here in Binghamton for AA baseball in the Eastern League. More information, like I said, bingrp.com. And also Devils, more information and news, binghamtondevils.com.
But that's not the only Binghamton team making some moves.
More importantly, playoff time in the ABA is upon us. The Bulldogs had 2 games this past weekend with a 1 victory over the Elmira Eagles on the road, 154-104. Shout out to Monty Anderson with 34 points, absolutely lighting up the scoreboard. Then they traveled down to Wyoming outside of the Scranton area to face the Wyoming Valley team that is undefeated currently. Unfortunately, the Bulldogs at one point were up in this game, ended up falling 194 to Wyoming. So the Wyoming Valley team clinched the number 1 seed. I think they're Wyoming Valley Clutch. Yeah. They clinched the 1 seed overall and will be accepting the bye into the next round of the playoffs. The Bulldogs are going to enter the East Regional or Northeast Division playoffs, which they didn't have to do as they are the host site, so they get an automatic bid into the Elite 8. However, they are going to enter the tournament for the Northeast Division playoff, not only to stay playing going into that, because otherwise it's a long time off from March until the end of April when the Elite 8 start. So they are in the race right now. They will play the winner of the Plotso Shockers versus the Western Mass Zombies at home. That will be a home game there. And other teams in this bracket still are the Syracuse Stallions, who are right now probably the perennial favorites, the Camden Monarchs, and the Jersey Express. So again, the Bulldogs, not needing to enter this, opted to do that. Now, if they win, they will not only get the automatic qualifying bid, but this, basically eliminating a second team out of the Eastern Division. I wonder why they would do something like that.
Interesting. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. So that will be a home game. It looks like that tentative date is March 21st. I do believe that tickets were announced to be on sale for that game. So if you are looking to get into a Binghamton Bulldog playoff game, that would be your one guarantee to have right now, because if Camden wins, they would be on the road the following weekend in the semifinals.
Yeah, so obviously shout out to the Binghamton Bulldogs. It's chip season. So
a lot of pressure to bring the chip home. So
especially if Binghamton is going to be hosting the Elite 8.
Yes.
That we want to see our guys there. So definitely make sure if you can get out to the Binghamton Bulldogs games when they're playing, definitely go support them. And for more information on everything Binghamton Bulldogs, Coach,
you could check their website, which is out there, or their very, very active Facebook page, which would probably be better off for you.
Facebook.com/Binghamton Bulldogs. Definitely have to recommend that. And also have to give a quick plug, 8-year anniversary of Excite Wrestling.
Yeah, tremendous.
Tremendous show
Great
going
show.
down this past Saturday after the Dark Order Parade on Parade Day.
Yeah.
Starring some certain wrestlers from AEW, All Elite Wrestling. So they kicked off the day downtown Binghamton and then brought the action to the X.
So Sean Carr with possibly the greatest entrance I've seen in pro wrestling.
That was top shelf.
That was so good.
Yes, it was absolutely out of control. His homage to The Undertaker. And they started strong with that night. I mean, great showing at the X, especially with it being Parade Day.
3-hour show. That was a little on the long side for my son, who couldn't quite handle the 3-hour wrestling show. But
Right, but they they definitely brought in some great action, and especially the one finish, the fireman's carry into a Canadian destroyer.
Oh, it was nuts.
It's absolutely crazy. I am just waiting to hear when Moose says this is on independentwrestling.tv. So you can definitely check it out if you live out of the 607 area and you definitely want to check out some independent wrestling. So they have a lot of things going on. The X was definitely packed that night. I mean, we had our friends down there from Three Fat Nerds. We had Floodlands was down there representing. Shout out the Robots. Just Incredible Cosplay was down there with Crisis Cosplay. So many people down at the X that night, man.
It definitely was packed. It was a good showing for 8-year anniversary show.
Yeah.
They've had, since the moving to the mall, they've had quite the turnout, which is a credit to them and the product that they put on. I mean, obviously, wrestling is not the same that it was 8 years ago. So the fact that they can survive as an independent wrestling group in the market area that we are in Binghamton is testament to them and their product.
Absolutely. Johnny Moose and Team Extreme, or Team Excite, should I say, definitely is bringing it every month at the X. So if you're not down there and you live locally, you should definitely check it out. And like I say, they are on independentwrestling.tv, and use the code Excite, XCITE, for I believe it's now 5 free days.
Oh, all right.
So there's some more information on that. You can definitely check out excitewrestling.com or their very active Facebook page, facebook.com/Excite Wrestling. So shout out to Moose, shout out to everybody down at the X, because they're making some moves, and their next show will be April 11th, I believe, because it's going to be the week after WrestleMania.
Okay.
So it's going to be a little change, because they usually do the first Saturday of the month. And the only thing that we know is that apparently Team Excite at the end of the show angered the most evil of darkness from the Dark Order.
Oh, boy.
So a little foreshadowing, I guess, who's going to be coming to the 607.
Wonderful.
Who knows? Just
that
saying.
Would be something.
It would be something. So for more information on who's going to be coming to the X next month, excitewrestling.com. So let us round these bases and take it home, Pad.
I got a couple baseball things to talk about. One, first of which being an update to the one I mentioned last week about Christian Yelich's contract. Got an interesting tidbit about that contract, folks. Back paid money.
Defer. I defer.
Deferred money. The man is going to be getting paid by Milwaukee through 2042.
Well into the sun goes supernova, ladies and gentlemen.
He will be getting paid until he's 50. So there's a lot of numbers here that I won't throw at you, because I'll be honest, when I saw the article, I had to call up a financial guy and have him explain it to me, because there's a lot of numbers here. So I'll just kind of keep it simple for you. If there's a buyout in the contract, that if it's owed, the $30 million, there will be $30 million in deferred money will be paid in 12 installments of $2.5 million each July 1st from 2031 to 2042. However, on the flip side, if the buyout is not owed, then he'll get $28 million in 11 installments of $2.3 million each year from July 1st from 2031 to 2041, and a final payment of $2.3 million will be on July 1st, 2042. Either way, that man is going to be getting paid by the folks in Milwaukee for a very long time.
Real quick, how long till baseball tries to put a kibosh on that? Because that's very similar to what
Bobby Bonilla.
No, it's very similar to what the NHL was doing with its star talent like Sidney Crosby, who, his first he had like an 11-year deal, and all the money was deferred until like year 9, 10, and 11. So it'll be very interesting to see.
If memory serves, the Mets are still on the hook for Bobby Bonilla, I want to say, for like another 15 years.
Well, they changed that real quick in the NHL. So, I mean, come on. Doesn't that make sense if you're a team like Milwaukee, that, you're a fledgling market, that if you can get a star player like that, but defer, 90% of the contract until 40 years later. Doesn't that make sense for you to do?
I had to look it up. Yeah, no, the Mets are still technically playing Bobby Bonilla, who hasn't played in the Major League Baseball since 2000. He hasn't played in Major League Baseball since 2001. They're paying him like $1.2 million until 2035.
I honestly hope this doesn't become a pattern.
It's very rare.
Right.
Bobby Bonilla was the one. You didn't really see it for a lot of years. Obviously, Christian Yelich has it. There was somebody else in the last couple of years that got it. I can't remember who, but it's a very rare thing to do just because a lot of teams don't like to do it, and they don't.
Rightfully so.
You look at a situation like with the Yankees when they had Jacoby Ellsbury, and they were still technically on the hook for Jacoby Ellsbury, but they worked their way out of that. The teams hate having to pay for players that honestly aren't really doing anything for them. So, hey, if you're Milwaukee and you're okay with doing it, more power to you.
Wow.
Flip side, Barry Bonds was in the news, although not for anything, revolutionary or unexpected. He did an interview with The Athletic where he basically said he feels Major League Baseball has given him a, quote, death sentence. He said, quote, if they don't want me, just say you don't want me and be done with it. Just be done with it.
Hey, we don't want you.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Before he started taking steroids, and now, admittedly, he's never admitted to it. He said, "Oh, I took the cream in the clear. I took, flaxseed oil." He's never admitted to it. But before we all know he did it. I mean, Christ, look at his body size and his head size. Mm-hmm. Before he started taking steroids in San Francisco, he was already one of, if not the best players in baseball for his time.
Yeah,
didn't need it, but started taking it once Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco and all them started doing it, and he kind of lost the whole thing. If you really want to dig into Barry Bonds' mess, because there's a long mess. He burned a lot of bridges. He annoyed a lot of folks. There's a very good reason that nobody in baseball wants anything to do with Barry Bonds. He was very toxic in clubhouses. He burned a lot of bridges. If you really want to know anything and everything about him, his Wikipedia page has about 15,000 words on it. I'm not going to read them all. You can do that on your own time.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a mess. I mean, you think of all the guys from the steroid era that, the A-Rods and the McGuires and Sosas and Bonds. You look at the folks who have come out and admitted to it, like A-Rod, like McGwire, and they've kind of come out on the better end of this, where you look at guys like Clemens and Bonds and Palmeiro, and they're kind of on the outs. Really, nobody wants anything to do with them anymore.
Well, I mean, people are willing to accept and forgive when you're willing to admit the mistakes that you did. I mean, Andy Pettitte was what? I mean, that after his whole stage and confession.
Yeah.
He literally, all was forgiven midway through that season,
Yeah.
So it's just a PR thing. The more that you're willing to get in front of the story, the better off you're going to be. And the more that you deny.
Yeah. And especially you look at Bonds, well, a lot of people, myself included, don't agree that he has the home run record. In the record books, he's got the home run record. He broke the record. I remember for a lot of years, and when you watch highlights of games in San Francisco, there was that plaque out by where he hit, 756. And once he retired, any mention and any image of him was gone from the stadium. And you didn't see him for a lot of years until within the last couple of years when they were honoring somebody. I can't remember who they were honoring, but they were honoring somebody that he played with or knew or whatever it was. And that was the first time you saw him back. That for a lot of years, even in San Francisco, which, if there was ever one place that loved him during kind of his tumultuous years in the majors and in his playing career, it was San Francisco. San Francisco loved that man till the death. And they wiped him out from existence. So, I mean, you reap what you sow.
Exactly. No real sympathy for that. It is what it is.
Yeah.
On to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I kind of treat that.
Yep.
Coach?
In the same season, different sport, lacrosse time, guys. In the long battle of the Major League Lacrosse versus the Premier Lacrosse League, the Premier Lacrosse League just struck the biggest blow. The long-awaited announcement, worst kept secret in all professional sports. Rob Pennell, one of the world's best players, has announced that he will be entering the 2020 entry draft for the Premier League. Really big blow to Major League Lacrosse, as he was probably the biggest name that the sport had left, or that league had left at the time, outside of Lyle Thompson. Now joining, the league that obviously had a great run, this last season as far as attendance and media attention and everything. Some other names that joined him in this were, big names, at least from the lacrosse standpoint, if you're a lacrosse fan, Zach Currier and his name's escaping me now, Dylan Ward, the Canadian team goalie for the World Games. So obviously the Premier League growing, just announcing a new team, their partnership with Barstool Sports and the boys over at Pardon My Take. So growing in popularity. I mean, not much else you can say other than it's only inevitable that the Premier League will absorb the MLL. I mean, there's just no way, when you don't have any star power in a day and age where star power matters, to be able to stay in front of the media, especially when you talk about the Premier League and their deal with NBC. It's just when you have a media component behind you, as you've seen with the XFL, doesn't matter what your ratings are, as long as you're getting attention and eyes on you, you're always going to be there.
And that's what they need. And they're
especially in a sport that's fledgling like it is. Yeah, it's all you need.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So they got to make some moves, and obviously if they get absorbed, it's inevitable, but
well, it's good for the players.
I
mean, if it ends up happening that way, it's only good. It's only beneficial for the fans, especially. I mean, you look at the AFL NFL merger. Back in the 60s, it only made the product better for the NFL. So it can football as a whole. So I mean, and the ABA NBA merger, the same thing in the 70s. So I mean, just now you're going to be able to say that, this league was better, that league was better. Now you're going to be able to say, this was the best team, instead of having that division among fans. And I mean, really, in 2020 for lacrosse, it's all about quote unquote growth of the game. The only way to grow the game is by having one professional league that everybody rallies behind and is the focal point and the attention of the sport. So we'll see. I mean, it's a long road ahead. Obviously, the MLL is in year 15 or year 20 actually, and the Premier League is in year 2. So it's an interesting time in that sport right now.
Yeah, this will be something to watch as moving forward, man.
I mean,
you hit it right on the head. So that being said, let me close out with a little more wrestling talk, because this past weekend was WWE Elimination Chamber. So we'll just kind of give a quick go-around about reaction to the matches.
Sure.
So let's start off. I'm not even talking about the Zack Ryder match there that opened up. Yeah.
Zack Ryder had a match?
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's go. Daniel Bryan defeated Drew Gulak. Thoughts on this?
Nuts matchup.
Yeah.
Nuts match. Holy cow. Can we get a best out of 5 series from these two?
Yeah.
I mean, that would probably be the way to go, and I'm sure both guys would be up for it,
Yeah, no, this was absolutely spot on, perfect. Except Brian took a very nasty neck bump.
That German
suplex.
Yeah,
that suplex he did
not quite like a belly to belly that we saw, but
the one shot at the Excite. Salute to you, sir, for getting up and being able to function after. That was a crazy bump. But this match was definitely everything you wanted to see out of these two. It was a true classic clinical match, and I mean,
it's what professional wrestling could be if guys were allowed to be professional wrestlers.
Yes.
Right.
And they delivered on it, and they showed that this could, I hope, doesn't be one and done. I hope this builds on something.
Don't need a spot fest. You don't need, flips and dives and bumps and jumps.
They're nice, but you don't always need it.
Yeah, you just need two guys in there just doing, moving to a pace that can keep the fans' attention and wrestle, you know?
And they showed they could do it. So, I mean, this was probably arguably the best match of the night. But the card was very deceptively good, I would say, considering it was a throwaway card. The next matchup was for the United States Championship, and that was your champion Andrade returning to take on Humberto Carrillo. Thoughts on this match?
It went exactly the way I thought it would. No surprises here.
Right.
Yeah, no real surprises here. Andrade retains. Great setup for what I'm guessing is going to be the Fatal 4-Way at Mania.
Which what we talked about, which makes sense.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's the only match I think you can do at this point. The Philly crowd, as this card was taking place in Philadelphia, was definitely appreciative of the early moments of this card. And going into the first Elimination Chamber match of the night for your SmackDown Tag Team Championships. So you had challengers, The New Day, the Usos, Lucha House Party, Heavy Machinery, and the law firm of Ziggler and Rude against Miz and Morrison. thoughts on this match?
Jesus Christ, that spot with, what was it, Lucha House Party on the top of the cage pod, whatever you want to call that thing. Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, tag matches in the Elimination Chamber are always crazy because of the number of bodies that are in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Miz and Morrison, obviously Morrison coming back, repairing with the Miz. They're not going to lose the title, right before Mania. So it's a tough spot to be in for that match. So it kind of was what it was.
Yeah, this match, the only things I would really say take away, Lince Dorado is a madman.
Yeah.
For that crazy bump he did.
Yeah.
You just go Google search it, go find it wherever you find great wrestling footage, because I can't even get into how crazy that thing was. And what really stood out to me was Heavy Machinery. I'm all in on now.
I was all, I mean, yeah, Otis is great. He's a lot of fun. They're not going to put on 5-star matches.
Charisma.
Yeah, but he really is. I mean, for being the shape that he is in, which is not eye candy, to say the least, the dude knows how to operate and move that belly.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think I'd get so much joy out of seeing a person in the ring when they utter 3 words. Oh, yeah, Tucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hear that, and you're like, oh, something good's about to happen.
Yeah, he has just grown on me, and Tucker Knight stood out in this match.
Yeah.
Everything from the little, facial back and forth he had going with Ziggler to that insane flip he did from the top of the pod, all in on, but Miz and Morrison retained at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had, I would say, probably the most predictable match of the night. Second most predictable match of the night. Aleister Black and AJ Styles, no disqualification.
It went exactly the way we thought it would.
Exactly. Yep. Very, wash, rinse, repeat.
Good
Appearance
match,
of The Undertaker. Yeah, good match. Taker showed up, obviously solidified what they're doing at Mania with him and Styles.
What they do.
And I thought, and we were talking about with Rich on the wrestling show, it looked like Black really hit AJ with that kick at the end.
Yeah.
Oh.
That thing looked brutal. And Aleister Black wins that, so that feud is done for now. So whatever he's going to do for Mania, he's in a good position. I have a feeling he'll be teaming up with Ricochet and going into a tag match.
That'd be good, because they were really good together as a tag team.
Yeah.
They were very well together.
And possibly a fatal four-way with these gentlemen, because the Street Profits were defending their belts against Seth Rollins and Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
This one basically went as we thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it was just fodder for Mania,
It's just fodder for Mania, but it did enough to put the Street Profits over and set up, obviously, what we're going to get with Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Because the majority of this card for WWE Elimination Chamber...
Predictable.
It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
Especially given the fact that both the main belts weren't anywhere near the card.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a shame, too, because it could mean so much more, especially given the fact that the Elimination Chamber as an object is something to behold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it's one of the most not like prestigious, but it's definitely one of the most best inventions that they've had in the last few years. Especially once they got away with went away from War Games, when they brought in WCW and just brought in that cage.
Yeah.
It was the closest thing that we were going to have to it until NXT came back with War Games. So. It's a shame that it's not utilized to make it mean more.
Yeah, I mean, just everything was so set up, and especially where they were teasing about for the main event being for who's going to fight Becky Lynch, and which we'll get into just one second. Yeah, the Elimination Chamber is just kind of really fallen by the wayside.
Yeah,
I think it's like Coach said. It's got a lot to do with placement. It's one of the most intriguing, and if it's done right and booked right, interesting. Card match pay-per-views they could have, but I think because, like Coach said, we're just under a month away from WrestleMania. You really can't do anything crazy with the belts and matchups because it's already booked and set.
I just had an apostrophe. Lightning struck my brain. Are you ready for this?
Go.
TLC, or not TLC, Money in the Bank should be this pay-per-view.
Ooh.
Boom.
It would.
Then you don't need the belts.
Yeah.
And you have literally the guy who wins the Money in the Bank have the briefcase in hand going into Mania.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The only thing with that, I agree, that would be a great idea.
Because that match can carry itself.
But would Vince go Rumble, Money in the Bank, Mania back to back to back.
No.
Well, I mean,
that would be my only thing with
right,
it.
but I mean, really though, Mania. I mean, the Rumble only sets up the guy to have the title match, right?
Yeah.
Money in the Bank doesn't mean he has to cash in. It's just the guy carries the briefcase for the year. And I mean, it is the new year, so it would literally be like almost a restart, on the thing, because the Rumble is the year before, and now you have what would be Money in the Bank be the first or second pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a way.
It's a good way to
catch
start.
some lightning in the bottle.
Oh, I agree. Like I say,
man.
it's an interesting concept. I'm not down
Go
with it.
ahead, use this, guys. Just give me credit when you use it.
Exactly. I love the idea, so we'll definitely have to continue that going on social media later after the show. But to wrap up about Elimination Chamber, probably the biggest upset of the night was your Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Which you had the team of Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura all facing the champion Braun Strowman. Whoever got the pin was your champion.
Yeah.
And the shock of all shocks, Sami Zayn is your new Intercontinental Champion.
Don't get hurt.
Yes.
Just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, a triple threat handicap match to, so, and then what do you do with the Intercontinental title? Are you going to put all three of them that are just in a faction together up against each other? Or do you have a replay of this now where it's the three of them against Braun again?
You do a four-way at Mania.
Yeah, but they were just put together.
Yeah.
Like you just put them together. Now you're pulling them apart.
Because the only reason I say you do that is you can hit the reset button and send some people to NXT. And I have a feeling that Nakamura is going down.
I could see that.
That's my feeling about this. That'll be a fatal four-way. Braun will get the big win, the big pop in Mania. Maybe, I don't know. I'd like to see Sammy get a good run, but obviously injuries have plagued him since he signed with the WWE.
Right.
So just to see the fact that he got a belt after his last one of 5 years ago when he was NXT champion.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in for a sec. And then the main event was the women's Raw #1 contender match, which we all knew was Shayna Baszler versus everybody.
Yeah.
She defeated Natty, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, and Asuka. Thoughts on this match? Anything?
I mean, I thought I knew where they were going, and they ended up doing it the next night. But I thought they were going to do it that night at Elimination Chamber with Sarah, Liv, and Ruby, because they're all in the Elimination Chamber match together. This is how they're going to set up their match at for Mania. Whatever it ends up being. But I'm kind of sitting there going, okay, if you're going to have Shayna be that dominant, why even put him in the matchup? Why?
I just think it's funny that now Paul is, in control of Raw, and 10, 15 years ago, he wanted to use the same thing for Punk in the ECW Elimination Chamber. They put the kibosh on it, and now here he is 15 later back in charge again of a brand, and he uses the storyline that he wanted to use.
Yeah.
I just think it's a tough position because obviously it was clear as day what they were trying to do. I mean, you don't have Blazer debut on Raw, bite Becky, and not let Becky get her comeuppance back at her. Yeah. So it was clear where they were going to go, and it put Blazer in a tough position because now, you have her be so dominant and everything that she basically just got go away heat. Now, now if she ain't over, she's go away over.
Well, the only thing I had issue with this match is I thought for how they got released from the pods, I thought that Shayna should have been last and then ran through everybody to be that monster, heel.
Which probably would have made more sense instead of running through everybody individually.
Well, the fact that she ran through everybody individually, I get, but I also think that the other wrestlers in that match should have had more time.
Right, but that's why I'm saying, like, her coming out last would make sense because now they can get their shine, but then when she comes in, it's like she individually is able to choke them out maybe while people aren't looking, or maybe her choke is that tight that, like, you have no choice but to tap out, like nobody can come save you.
Yeah.
So, like, that could have been the story that was told instead of, what was done.
It would have been better, but we would have been robbed of the great moment where Shayna was sitting on the turnbuckle waiting for Asuka to come out, and Asuka had absolutely turned up her just craziness to 11 and was standing there screaming at her in Japanese from the pod to the point where, like, the mics were picking it up. And I was like, all right, this is great.
I just wish they gave those two more time, but I have a feeling, we were actually talking about it with Rich on the show, is that's going to be your feud after Mania.
Oh, you're going to see this again.
Yeah, you're going to see Becky Asuka and Shayna, which I'm going to be here all day for. So overall,
I'm not convinced Becky loses, though. Either.
I am.
Fully
locked in.
I think she will.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's not that she's not over as she once was, but she's still, the face of the two. Yeah. And if Becky and listen, Vince is very fickle. Yeah. And if the fans don't take to Becky after this match, now he will very quickly pull that plug. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. So overall, the card was a pretty predictable one. Had a couple moments. A solid one, though, a lot better than expected.
Yeah. I mean, the matches were good, which is nice. If you're not going to get the shock and awe of wins and losses, at least having solid in-ring work, can help make a pay-per-view better, I guess,
Absolutely. So for more in-depth breakdown of this card and everything wrestling, hop on over to the 3 Fat Nerds Pod Network and definitely hear the wrestling show, because Rich and I deep dived into the card and then some, so it's always worth a listen to talking some wrestling. That being said, the music you heard on this episode of the ODPH podcast is out of Fair City Fire. They're friends of the show. You can find out all about them and Second Suitor, Shout at the Robots, Walking Distance, Honker, Floodlands, all on the music section of OchoDuroParlayHour.com. You can also check out Parlay Points, the commentary blog section to the podcast, the ODPH directory, which has links to friends of the show, such as Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming, Excite Wrestling, photography by Mike Blakesley, all the individual pod groups that we are in. So shout out to Pod Nation, shout out to the Apocalypse community, shout out to Legion Indie Pods, shout out to Next Wave, shout out to everybody who has been supporting the ODPH since day one, and also recently added to the OchoDuroParlayHour.com homepage is a button to find out everything going on for live stream for The Cure, May 27th through May 31st. Epic Film guys are running this. They do an awesome job. It's a streaming podcast marathon to raise money for cancer research, and I just got the email from Nick from Epic Film Guys. The ODPH will be participating in this on Sunday, May 31st.
Wow.
So this is going to be a big deal for us. Can't thank those guys enough for letting us partake in this. I know Rich from 3FN is going to be part of it. Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming are going to be doing 1 hour. We're going to be raising some money for cancer research. So for more information on that, livestream4thecure.com. Or just head on over to OchoDuroParlayHour.com and hit the button. It'll take you to the link, so you can definitely support that event when it happens. That's all I got for this week. So for your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
ACC tournament starts tomorrow. Go Notre Dame.
For the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.